So I want to share a story from an event I was at recently. I was at an event, and I've talked about some nuance of this before because I see it often enough, but this one really kind of shook me into the concept of it. But I was at an event recently, and I gave a big speech to a huge kind of corporate team, and then the team asked me to do what's called I offer something I call a campfire session. So we do a little campfire. Sometimes they bring bourbon, cigars, but it's a much more intimate group, and we dig really deep into the top level of leadership, the C-suite or the top executives, all the way up the senior level of command at an organization. And I remember one of the guys in the group, it was guys and gals, great group of folks, very talented, and had a great conversation. But I remember one of the guys is a big reader. I'm a big reader, so we'd been talking books. And I remember him kind of pointing out very specifically, he said, I read a lot on leadership. I mean, I read quotes on leadership. I read every leadership book that comes out. I've more or less read them all. And there's all these styles of leadership that have been identified that a leader can embody or use, execute on to kind of go do the job. There's the servant leader, a charismatic leader, there's the democratic leader, strategic, a tyrant, empathetic leadership. I've read books on basically all of these individual styles per se. What do you think is the best style? That was his question to me. And I think he went so far as to say, what do you think style would be the best for me to adopt? And I remember very quickly saying, whatever you do, don't do that. Don't pick a style or try and find the style that you think would be the best. You have to be the best version of the type of leader you are. I think those books are great. I think leadership books are great. You could pull and harvest great lessons and nuggets that you can put into your playbook, into your arsenal to be a better leader. You should constantly be pursuing that and looking towards it. I have found most of the leaders I was around, both those that I respected the most and those that I didn't kind of connect with, sort of were who they were. And by that, I mean, and a nuance to this is I've seen almost every style work and almost every style fail. I work for leaders that were demons. I mean, I work for a couple tyrants that were absolutely narcissistic, my way or the highway, let's go, everybody's going to bend to my will and we move forward. I've seen that work less than not. I have seen that work. I had one of my commanders that was that way. He had phenomenal judgment. He had great vision. He knew how to run the battlefield and do things right. It was no fun working for him, but he was good at the job. So it's hard to punch tremendous holes in the fact that his capacity for execution and ability was high. I've also seen very quiet, circumspect, cerebral leaders that don't say as much, and I've seen that work. And I've seen that fail. It often comes down to the skill set underlying the style. But in my mind, if you're a yeller, embrace it and figure out a way to do that and make sure you are also empathetic to the team. You're taking care of your troops. But look, yell the right things, it's going to work. Yell the wrong things, it's going to flame out. If you're a thinker and quiet and a whisper, hey, the gnarliest things I've ever heard in my life came as a whisper. Remember one of my instructors, I'd been with him for 2 years. He never yelled once. Sometimes the instructor's in your face grinding you. And somebody said, like, man, you never yell. And he's like, whispers are twice as scary. And you think about when your father, your mom, somebody you respect has come in and said something to you quietly, the impact of that, you know what I mean. I think when it comes to finding your style, figure out what works for you naturally. Bring in the skills that will make you good at doing that job. Learn your craft well so you can do the tactical and keep an eye on the strategic. You do that well, you're going to be a great leader. And then have non-negotiables that support whatever that style is. You got to have good judgment. You have to have vision. You have to have empathy and actual care for your troops. And you have to have vision. If those are your core, your style will work itself out. Ever onward.